yandi. Ba, 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 alou.
Beba yere soro.
Anyafo, fakoli, anyafo, beya yere soro.
Wanya nyafo, beye fere, nanga nyafo biwo, beba yere soro. Il était une fois une terre cosmopolite sur laquelle des peuples se sont retrouvés. C'est ainsi que les seuls nouveaux se sont installés au 16e siècle. Ainsi, les crews étaient déjà là avant le 16e siècle. C'est ainsi que les baoulés se sont installés au 18e. C'est ainsi que des djoulas se sont installés au 17e siècle. À propos des nationalités, ils ont des difficultés parce qu'ils ont des cousins en Casamance. Même s'ils ont des cousins en Sierra Leone, est-ce qu'il n'y a pas de Kwame au Ghana? Wanya nyafo, beye fere, nanga nyafo biwo, beba yere soro.
Anyafo, fakoli, anyafo, beya yere soro.
Wanya nyafo, beye fere, nanga nyafo biwo, beba yere soro. Il était une fois une terre cosmopolite sur laquelle des peuples se sont retrouvés. C'est ainsi que les seuls nouveaux se sont installés au 16e siècle. Ainsi, les crews étaient déjà là avant le 16e siècle. C'est ainsi que les baoulés se sont installés au 18e. C'est ainsi que des djoulas se sont installés au 17e siècle. À propos des nationalités, ils ont des difficultés parce qu'ils ont des cousins en Casamance. Même s'ils ont des cousins en Sierra Leone, est-ce qu'il n'y a pas de Kofi au Togo? Wanya nyafo, beye fere, wanya nyafo biwo, beba yere soro.
Anyafo, fakoli, anyafo, beya yere soro.
Wanya nyafo, beye fere, wanya nyafo biwo, vakrisa logo boni.
Anyafo, fakoli, anyafo, beya yere soro.
Ni boko pra, sutrabana. Naka nyafo bi, beba yere soro.
Cultivons l'unité et la paix. Il ne faut pas se contenter de le dire, mais il faut l'avoir dans le comportement. Autant on peut fabriquer des révoltés avec des doctrines, on peut aussi en fabriquer avec l'injustice. Oh, fanya nyafo, wanya nyafo, beye fere, wanya nyafo biwo, beya yere soro.
Anyafo, fakoli, anyafo, beya yere soro.
Wanya nyafo, beye fere, wanya nyafo biwo, fakirisa logo boni.
Anyafo, fakoli, anyafo, beya yere soro.
Wanya nyafo, beye fere, wanya nyafo biwo, beya yere soro.
Anyafo, fakoli, anyafo, beya yere soro.
Wanya nyafo, beye fere, wanya nyafo, chedo bilanje logo boni.
Anyafo, fakoli, anyafo, beya yere soro.
C'est en 1893 que ce territoire fut baptisé Côte d'Ivoire. Donc, tous ceux dont les ancêtres sont nés après cette date sont ivoiriens. Arrêtez les blabla partisans pour éviter de mettre en péril l'unité nationale.
shall not rise again. Oh, Babylon shall not stand again.
These Orpheus people to contribute meaningfully to its development. That means Orpheus people of diverse ethnic and religious backgrounds. So it doesn't matter whether we are Gios, Loma, Kru, Mandingo. What matters is what contribution we all can make to a better Liberia that will serve all of us interests. As a civil rights advocacy group, we are interested primarily in addressing the civil rights issue confronting the Mandingo other Muslims in Liberia. Towards this end, we seek not a confrontation or conflict with anyone, but cooperation, dialogue, and understanding. Some of you may be asking why we only speak for Mandingos or the Muslims. This is because we don't see Christian churches being burned in Liberia and the perpetrators go unpunished. We never see that happening. There is no other groups beside the Mandingos whose right to live in peace in their homes they occupied before the war has been violated in broad daylight, and we don't see no sign of protest from any parties in the country. In Nimba County, any point beyond Ganta today is no-go zone for our people. You all hear the story in Sacklippy last year when there's supposed to be a time for reconciliation. Our people want to settle with the hope of living in peace with their neighbors, but unfortunately it came under attack from some other people that didn't want them there. As a result, some were killed or fled into the bushes. We didn't hear no voices of concerns in Liberia to speak against this injustice. And it's the same situation in Lofa and other places. We did not see any national outrage against this tribal motivated attack. No one is interested in addressing this issue. That's why we are here to let everyone know that time has come to make these issues part of our national discussion. And that's why we're here as National Civil Rights Movement. While we call for change in the U.S. immigration policy regarding us here in America, it is necessary to review the immigration issues in our own country. The whole immigration structure in our own country needs a drastic change, so there are no Geo, Crown, or Loma counties, but Liberian counties. So no tribe will exclusively think of itself as being the exclusive owner of any part of Liberia. So no one will be stopped at any gate or checkpoint to verify his or citizenship. You understand? My grandfather did a lot of work in my hometown, Sacklippy. My father was born there, I was born there. And if I'm traveling to Liberia today, I must be stopped at the gate to verify my citizenship while any other person passed with no question. Last time I was in Liberia was 1998. I traveled from Logato, passing through Campley, Sanikole Ganta, all the way to Monrovia. And wherever we went, while everybody's passing, I have to come and tell people where I am, asking me who was the commissioner in your time before the Civil War. When we see all of you immigrants, a 4-year-old girl who migrated from Czechoslovakia and a 15-year-old boy who migrated with his parents from Bavaria, becoming Secretary of State of this great nation, I am reminded of Liberia, where my father, mother, and I were born, but I am still thought of as quote-unquote foreigner. We may be denied the opportunity to serve and contribute to Liberia's development, not because we're not qualified, but simply for being Mandingo and Muslim. That is our concern. When we see all of you having good jobs, living in nice homes and driving nice cars in these United States, I am reminded of Liberia. Many of us would like to talk about anything but religious and ethnic intolerance, of which we have fallen victim to in Liberia. When some of us have the temerity and the audacity to talk about it, we are wrongly accused of promoting tribalism or jihad. There is nothing to be ashamed of about here because it is our experience. And if you live in the experience, you must talk about it because that is what you experience in your own country. Black people in America experience racism, they cry about it. Black people in Sudan complain of discrimination from the Northern Muslim, they complain about it. And we in Liberia, if that is our experience, wherever we go, we got to talk about it. So that you and I can be conscious enough to make issue out of this and try to make necessary change that will be in your interest and in my interest. And there is a talk of a conference on racism, xenophobia, and the likes. Like in South Africa, there's girl movement, and maybe what we need to have in Liberia too, if we want genuine peace and democracy, is to have some conference on xenophobia and tribalism in Liberia. That's one of the negative things that is dragging down that nation. Because I know Liberia has so many problems, but sincere leadership that is willing to look into all of those problems, no matter how little they may be, we all can find some common ground, some common solution to this problem. We have to deal with tribalism and its negative consequences the same way racism is being dealt with today. We must lobby through our senators and representatives to pass laws that will make discrimination of any kind illegal in Liberia. We can't shy away from reality. If we do so, it will catch up with us at a time when we are least prepared to deal with it. We are a nation of many diverse people, of many diverse ethnic backgrounds, religious, as well as professional backgrounds. In different ways, we all have made some contribution to the growth and development of Liberia along these many years. Some of us have contributed as farmers, traders, builders, journalists, public servants, and the list goes on. This diversity is present in every society, and some have made better use of their diversity than us. We see aid in the progress they have made. We too would have to appreciate our diversity so we may ultimately come to understand its beauty and strength. We must look at our diversity with positivism and put it into use with our mindset. As I stand here at this moment, I am reminded of a statement made by my brother, Sir, at the first town hall meeting in Silver Spring, Maryland. This brother is one of the very hard-working member of the Contemporary United Patriotic and Strong, and he asked a question in Maryland. How do you see me, and how do I see you? Do we see each other with same eye, with same understanding, with same honest appreciation? I understand this to mean, how do I look at you and how do you look at me? Given my tribal and religious differences, do you see a human being beyond tribe and religion? Do I see a fellow Liberian beyond religion and ethnicity? Do we reconcile the differences by coming together based on what we have in common? What we have in common is that we all were born one way or the other in this little part of Africa called Liberia, hence a common identity, Liberians. Liberian is a general term since it describes people of many diverse experience with the war. Most of us don't support the idea of war. Most of us are quick to invoke Dr. Martin Luther King's nonviolent approach as the best solution. As King would have said, and I quote, "Are we willing to meet a physical force with a soul force?" Meaning, are we willing to challenge Mr. Taylor and his gangsters with demonstrations and rallies to free our country? King did not just preach nonviolence. He put his life on the line for it. He was willing to die for what he believed in. And he died on the battlefield. He didn't die sitting and only talking about nonviolent change like some of us are doing today. Are we willing to put our lives on the line for the cause of peace and tranquility and true democracy in our country? If we are ready to do just that, then we will be denying the Charles Julus and other will be liberators the chance to take us through another round of the same marathon. So simply what we're saying here, a lot of us say, no, war is not the answer. You know, nonviolent approach is the answer. But you call for demonstration, you don't give a damn about it. You just think that you're just going to be sitting down, sleeping one morning and wake up. You know, I mean, let me put it this way. A lot of us think that Mr. Taylor is going to go to bed one day and in the morning wakes up, say, oops, Liberian people deserve freedom and democracy, you can have it. That would never happen. Because it's a dictatorship, a tyranny. It can never really think that the people it is suffering needs freedom. It's never going to wake up. Another war. But what we need is the people power revolution that we have seen repeatedly in other places. We saw it in Philippines, in Indonesia, in a lot of other places, in Africa. That's why we need to get Mr. Taylor out of power. We can use this to send message to both Mr. Taylor and Lord that we no longer want any protectors, quote-unquote protectors, and liberators. If we must tell the Lord that war is not the answer, we must also be fair enough to tell Mr. Taylor to stop those things that are making our people hopeless to the point of seeing war as the only solution, as the only option. There are things Mr. Taylor is doing in the country. For example, my people can go to Saklepe. My father's house survived the 7 years war. Nothing happened to it. Only last year, when there's supposed to be time of peace and reconciliation, it was destroyed by people that don't want to see our people settled there. These are the things that are happening. I'm in America. Job is not a problem for me. I got a good house. I don't have to worry about the next day meal. But how can you convince the brothers out there his house is being destroyed, sleeping in the refugee camp, afraid of your own life in your own country, got no hope, and you tell him non-violence, peace? You're joking. We better be serious if we want freedom for our country. On this note, those who profess to have freedom and yet duplicate agitation are men who want crops without blowing off the ground. They want the rain without the thunder and the lightning. And that's the problem with our young people today. We all say we want democracy, we want peace, we want justice, but are we willing to make the necessary sacrifice to bring our leaders to their senses that we don't take this bullshit anymore? As long as we keep sitting down and we're talking and not, implementing what we talk, then not only Mr. Taylor, another dictator who comes there tomorrow and subject us to the same thing he's subjecting us to today. So I leave you with that message that if we want democracy in Liberia, we need to get up and do something. If we expect 2003 election, like Mr. Harris just said, security is the #1 guarantee that there could be a free and fair election. Without security, you're going to see Mr. Taylor being elected for another 6 years term. And that means some of us will live permanently in exile, because I'm not willing to live in any society where I have to worship a man. No, I worship only Allah. That's my creator. He's the only one worthy of my worship, not a man. So I leave you with peace, understanding, but not the spirit movement. I thank you.
In this meeting, in fact, we took off on what Mr. Konneh just said, talking about the ordeal of his people. Because irrespective of who is elected president of Liberia, there is a process, the process of healing. Until we can mend our wounds, I don't think having election is the only solution. So even before we have elections, I'm saying there are wounds that are festering, and those wounds must be mended. Looking at Nvasekie, where he hailed from, and the ordeal of his people, the identification of his people as Liberians, being able to travel all over Liberia without being asked to show identification whether you are Liberian, that in itself is pathetic. And if even were to have election today in Liberia, the country cannot return to normalcy if we as a people do not address the problems that in fact divide us today. So the question here is, how do we begin, after hearing Mr. Konneh telling the story of what his people, the Mandingo people, who are also Liberian, are going through in our country? How do we begin to heal the wound so that the mess we have on our hands today will not repeat itself?
The continent too.
Yeah.
And you mentioned on your little platform, I think monthly religious services.
Yeah.
And I brought up the issue about Muslims. We have Muslim services too.
Right.
I want you to tell the audience here what was your response to that, because that's the same thing I was feeling at the time. But we happen in this community where I'm not a Muslim, I'm a crewman.
Right.
But I feel strongly about them because they are part of our society.
Right.
What we have seen back when we are seeing it here today, when we meet, it's always this Christian religious thing. And we forget that we have Muslims in our midst. So please explain to them as a prospective candidate for president.
Okay.
And somebody start with this.
Because I am running for president of the Liberian community of Metropolitan Atlanta. Now, what I presented to those that were present at the leadership meeting was, I want to make a difference. I just don't want to be like any other president who will come here and say, well, I want to be a president. But I'm saying that in order to make a difference, I want to tell you where, the direction I want to take this community. But that plan should not just be my plan. So what I did was to call people in the community. I said, well, I have prepared a document that will get you thinking. Let's make this document the document or the blueprint for this community, rather it than just Masseb's blueprint. So he was one of those who happened to be there, and I thank you for being there, and also thanking you for your contribution. But one thing that I did was, I have suggested having a quarterly church service. And again, that was partly due to my ignorance, because just as you said, whenever we think about people, Liberian people convening, we just think about Christians. We don't think that never do we stop to think, well, we have Muslims, and these people are also part of, the Liberian community. So you made that observation, and my answer to him was that, well, I'm going to take that into consideration. And I said to him that when the document, or when this proposed plan was being put together, it never even crossed my mind that, well, there are Muslims in this community. But the fact that you mentioned it, yes, there's a need. So if at all we are to bring everyone in this community together, if this community is to take a new direction, then we must have everyone, irrespective of where they come from, be a Mandingo, whether you're Muslim, and so that's part of the plan. That if this community is going to move forward, the Liberian community of Metropolitan Atlanta, we're going to have Mandingos. And I guess one of the problems was really I didn't know how to identify them, but I'm glad because I've seen you on the side of the field, before, and then now I know that you're in this town, maybe I can contact you so that you can help me get to meet the brothers, the Muslim brothers who are Liberians in this community, so that we can redirect the community. But again, the question is still on the floor, that there are wounds out there that if Liberia is, if we are to rebuild Liberia again, even if we were to have elections in the year 2003, there are wounds that need to be mended. And the question again is, how do we begin to mend those wounds? Yes, sir.
It take, and it's being mentioned in many of Honorable T.Q. Harris's writings. If you look into, those of you who have internet, go and read the article, the Liberian Contemporary Arts, who we are, I see him outline some of the priorities that needs to be taken to go to as a first step in the direction. And I think that one of the most important first step in mending the wounds is enlightenment, in my opinion. Because, like you just said, when you put your document together, you did not think it was not intentionally done, but it was utter ignorance. I think that people need to be enlightened as to who we are as Liberians and who make up the country Liberia. And once we know who we are and who are the different people that compose or comprise of that country, then we will begin to identify each other. Because, like he just said, many Liberians, when you see a Mandingo man, you know that, okay, where they came from Guinea, and they're foreigner automatically. We do not know, not many Liberians know that there are Guineans that were born in Liberia and that are part of that country. And that's the ignorance that we operate out of. And so the first thing is enlightenment. Definitely.
Yes, have a common ground when it comes to enlightenment. The problem that our people face in Liberia, if I may quote you, came out of ignorance. But I will say this to you for the benefit of the listening audience. If you look at the early history of Liberia, we will always say to everybody, whenever we meet, so we can understand one another, where we came from and where all of these problems came from. During the settlement of the Americo-Liberians on the soil of Liberia, negotiations were made. I'm recapping Liberian history in a nutshell. Negotiations were made, and our tribal people were made to apportion some settlement, some land area for some compensation. Eventually, they realized that indeed this was a sale, and in our culture, we don't sell land. So there was a tribal revolution or tribal revolt to take back the land from the Americo-Liberian settlement or settlers. The Americo-Liberian leadership left and went to Bissau, right outside of B.F. Goodrich. That was the headquarters of King Saboso Kamara, who was in fact the historian. Liberian historian refused to recognize and consider King of Kings. He was the highest king. No king was more powerful than King Saboso Kamara in that region. And when they referred the matter to him, King Saboso took the stand. I agree, he used Mandingo youths in the area who were considered what you may call the security today, or soldiers, or whatever nomenclature you may give it, to suppress the rebellion. All right? If he were not King of Kings, the Americo-Liberians would not have gone to him for redress. We are his descendants. There was no Liberia before that time. And when he set on that, if I may quote Doris Ben Henry, I promise you protection. If anybody comes again and do this, I will do this, and then quiet it. We all read that when we were in grade school. We are descendants of those people. And it was after all of these interactions before the Liberian nation was born. The Liberian nation was now born from the union of Mandingos and Bassa. Because the union between the Mandingos and the Bassa were the first two country civilized union as far as narratives are concerned by our parents to us. Because they used to say, when you leave Kanka, you go nowhere except Timor. They had Timor near Kanka. They had Timor at the sea coast in Grand Bassa County, today Grand Bassa County, or Grand Bassa, or in Riverside County today, in Liberia. So those were the two civilized institutions that they used to refer to us. All right? They did that before the rebirth, before the birth of the Liberian nation. There was no Liberia. Before the coming of the American Liberians, there was no Liberia. There was no Liberia at all. And there was no state or city-state of Gio people in that territory. There was no city-state or state of Mano people in that territory. The Mano, the Gio, the Mandingo, all of us belong to the Mandan Empire, in which Liberia was a part and parcel, if you follow the history, if you're a Liberian historian or an African historian. We are all part of that kingdom. So the Mandingo men, they need laissez-passer in the same kingdom to leave Kanka to come to Monrovia. That's the same kingdom. He then need laissez-passer to leave Bamako to come to Abidjan. It's the same kingdom. He then need laissez-passer to move from Wejene to go to Burkina Faso. It's the same kingdom. Where did the discrimination come from? Somewhere along the line, somebody tried to coin and bring us against each other. That's the beginning of trying to bring country people against country people. That was the beginning. And this was cleverly done. So they say, what can we do to bring our people, these people against each other? First they thought 1985 general election was going to be the best time. Unfortunately, they failed. The thing that will cause us to take arm at each other will not come through. Okay? So, if you grab any Mandingo man in the war, you kill him, you take his property. This is a good time. So they took advantage of that and then stormed Kampley, kill our people, took the young children, put them in the well. They stormed Tiapa on Friday while the people were in the mosque. Stormed the mosque, killed our people in the mosque. Nobody said anything. Okay? People who survived came to Monrovia, and I took them to the president. They explained to the president what happened. Believe me, when you were talking, I felt for you. If you're going to be a true leader of the Liberian people. Because if you cannot provide protection for my brother, who will say, it is my right to vote for TQ Harris. If you cannot provide security for him to say, this is my political choice, then you don't need to be the leader. And if you are not there to assure him that you can stand up for him, then you don't need to put him into a situation that he's unable to protect himself out of in the future. So this is the circumstances that we find ourselves. When Doe went to the city hall and said, only people who do not read Liberian history will say Mandingo people are not citizens of this country. Daily Observer took it the next morning and said Liberia declared Mandingo people citizens. Doe declared Mandingo people citizens. You see, this is the way they think, this is the mentality. All right? But unfortunately, we say everywhere, because it was told to us by narrative is brought down the line. Anybody, like now, anybody who wants to take that nation by force, if we have any young Mandingo boy living in Liberia, that Mandingo boy will die, will liberate that country. For true politicians to go there and lead that nation in peace, we're not going to say that. So you see, people do not know how that nation was born. Their parents did not speak to them. Our parents spoke to us. We know what Liberia means to us. It's not just to say, oh, you're from Nimba, yeah, then you give man. No, forget about that. We don't, that doesn't worry us. The thing we were particular about in that nation as people who are trade in their background is the control of the trade route, not to control county, district, or this thing. We control trade route. Go to Bobo Dioulasso in Burkina Faso. Who's in majority? Madingo. Go to Burkina Faso, how do you call it? Wejene. Who's in majority? Madingo people. Then you come to Bela. Who's in majority? Madingo people. Come to Beke. All the villages are occupied by Pele. But Beke City, who controls the economy? Madingo people. Come to Zerikore, who controls the economy? Madingo people. Come to Sanikole, who controls the economy? Madingo people. Go to Kample, who controls the economy? Madingo people. Go to Ganta, who controls the economy? Madingo people. Go to Banga, who controls the economy? Madingo people. Go to Bassa, who controls the economy? Madingo people. We were interested in trade route. And that is the thing our people were in control of. And that's why they protected. So out of ignorance, people sit there and say, what kind of county you come from? County to do what? Meaning what? Counties were politically designed for smooth administration, not for tribe. Politicians in our country did not get together and say, you let put Bassa people in one place, and put Kuru people in one place, and put Gio people in one place. That's not the case. Otherwise, Manapo would have got one county, Madimopo get one county, Giopo get one county, Basapo get one county. This is not the thing. It is by coincidence that Bassa was called Grand Bassa County by the great thinkers of that time. And they knew why they said at that time. Why would they say Grand Gio County for Nimba then? But these divisions were made for political harmony, for them to be able to control situations administratively. So all of these things are happening in our country. T.Q. Harris, anywhere he sees me, he will welcome me. He will say, Ansumana, welcome home. When we talk about Madingopo, then you know what? The reason why they say so is because of ignorance. They also do not know. Guinea, Liberia, Ivory Coast, Sierra Leone, Burkina Faso, Senegal, Mali, Gambia, we were all one nation. We were all, before the arrival of the colonial power, we were all one nation. We didn't need laissez-passer. Instead of all blame people who divided us, we turn around and then turn to one another and begin to discriminate against one another. We don't have any reason to do that. We should begin to love one another. But I tell you, you become president today in Liberia, you become a dictator, unbearable, uncontrollable, and the people continue to cry in your hand. We will put the Madingo youth together, they will drive you out of that place. We will fight until the last man dies. This is what we do. That's how the Liberian nation was born. But that one most people do not know. You think Yulimo just came from the sky and just dropped through. No, it didn't happen so. We asked the Crown people to join us. We told them, gentlemen, we have been told by generation before we were born that anything happened to this nation, any Madingo child that is alive must die for the liberation of this territory. That's where we are today, Chief. Anytime, anybody. We ain't got political, we don't got presidential ambition. If God say Madingo man must be president of Liberia, fine, you will be president of Liberia. But we ain't get political ambition. Very hard time. You don't get men who will provide men, who will bring democracy. This is what we are, gentlemen.
I knew we wouldn't have Mr. Kroma, right?
Yes.
Just as Mr. Kroma said, the problems of Liberia as it has begun to unfold here, you can see that a lot of it stems from ignorance. Yes. Because, if probably we knew all of these things, we would know that, before Liberia, we were one.
Yes.
And so that oneness really is what is missing. And therefore, a lot of us, when we think about Liberia, we're just thinking about the Declaration of Independence back in 1847 that, well, this is Liberia. But the question many of us have never asked, What was this place before Liberia? But anyway, Mr. Corona, you had your hand.
We did run across a lot of misinformation, miseducation, exactly what Ansu was trying to say to us. And my friend Aaron Brown, the artist, says that the root of the nation lies within the culture of its people. And until we really look at both the cultural and the spiritual revolution for the nation to go forward, the political will all be in trouble. Because the political is intermixed with a lot of confusion and misinformation. You understand? As bad as many people thought of Tottenham administration and Togo administration, within the whole scope of the 100 and some odd years, how bad leadership and American Liberia and all that was, I grew up and I saw there was always peace and harmony amongst the ethnic group for a long time. And President Tottenham and most of those leaders then, they realized that bringing the different religious groups together was one way of keeping the integration policy strong. At all of those big meetings and occasions, we had the Islamic leaders and we had Christian leaders together. Many of the people today, because of the factional warfare and confusion, don't even realize that. We have peace and tranquility and understanding. We don't have the Islamic people and the Christian really going out with head-on collision. We never had that, except coming to this factional warfare and confusion like here. See, so that goes to the question that we started dealing with. In our programs, our meetings, we ought to be inclusive as far as religious tolerance, bringing people together. Our meetings, all the Islamic group together, the Christian, because those are the two major ones from Liberia. You know, we didn't have, well, right now we got Baha'i, we got Buddhists and all that, but those came in later on. But the Christian and the Muslim, those are the traditional groups that have been in Liberia for a long time. And you see, and there was always that peace and tranquility, as I said, up to this new factional movement revolution that took place in Liberia, which is very unfortunate. It has caused a lot of cloud and how people don't understand what's going on. So in our meetings here, we should also do that, you know, and demonstrate that so that the children and our younger generation can realize that both can go together with the same people. See?
Right. Now, you all heard the story told here today by Mr. Konneh, by Mr. Kamara, and if we are to move forward to include everyone who is considered Liberian as part of that nation. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, the question of the Mandingo people and how they felt at this moment is a concern to any good intent a Liberian with good intention for the country. But what I see right now is that the object that is really on our way is how we can have the rule of law in our country. The rule of law is absent. And this is why every one of us are in the self-imposed exile. We should do something to come together. Once we can put rule of law back into our system, then we'll be able to tackle those issues. Because right now we can have all of those good things written on papers. What we do, Senator Liberian say, or the present administration that should enact it for us? No. So, as much as what is hurting the Mandingo people is also hurting, as he regularly put it, the economy of any country is the lifeblood of that country. And the Mandingo people, to a larger extent, contributed vastly, you know, towards the growth of the economy in that country. And if they are affected, it will affect the nation in one way or the other. So we need each other in order for Liberia to go where it should go. But right now, what we really have is how can we have the rule of law to come to Liberia. And in our own way, when you see us, sometimes when we say we are a member of the Basel Association, some people say, oh, you'll bring back the travel license. But if some of you who extensively read our civics and history, you will see that one thing the civics said I've not forgotten is that the family is the smallest unit of the society, and it's very important. From the family, you come to a little community. Why do they put these social groupings? It's because if you have your children, you take care of them, they become doctors, farmers, and engineers. They are going directly to help Liberia. Those who are not able to take care of their children, the same way you are taking care of yours, they are the ones who, some way or the other, will contribute towards the maybe fighting foes on the other hand. But while we are doing this, putting ourselves in these ethnicity grouping is because we want to put ourselves into a group where if we want to come together, we say, well, we want to call the Mandingo people, we want to call the Grover people, we want to call the Gill people. It's easy. Then if there's no grouping at all. In fact, in our Basel Association, we are not only looking for Basel people, we are looking for Liberians. If you come in, you want for us to change your name, we'll be working to do it. But what we want to do, we want to pull ourselves together. The question of security, politics is numbers. If we all can come together, just in Atlanta, I know that there are other political groupings already being established. But put that, like somebody said, selfless effort. And let us come together as a unit. The force that we now have is the present administration in Liberia, so that we all can tackle it. When that one is gotten out of the way, then all of our social problems can come together, we can resolve it. So my thing is, we should come together first with a strong political grouping within the United States. So when we leave from here, we can go down and bring back the rule of law. Then we will be able to solve some of these social problems.
Former Deputy Director of National Social Security and Vice President Madi Barrow. I'm 30 years now, but I've never voted for anybody in Liberia, or the election in Liberia. But I'm very happy, impressed with the statement of Brother Harris. It has taken me for several years to see a man making just a statement in regarding human life. Every Liberian politician put their interest right before anybody. I was so impressed by the statement that I can't declare myself a candidate when I can't save a single man's life in Liberia. I was in Liberia up to 1988. All right, solving Liberian problems. All right, we should look at beyond the Liberian 16 tribes. 16 tribes is not enough in Liberia, it's not war. Because if the war, for instance, I was very little when I began to travel. I first went to Dakar, Senegal. I saw that capital and look at their independent year calendar and look at the Liberian independent calendar, compare the both resources and compare Liberia with that country, I begin to shed tears. I said, what we have in this country. But the problem in Liberia is not a native Liberian, it's a leader. God help the country based on the mind, the visions of the leader. We never have any good leaders in Liberia. Up to now, we don't have good leaders in Liberia. It's a leader that helped to change the minds of the people. Here in America, it was a big government. Bill Clinton break down that system, reach to the community. George Bush trying to follow the same system, even though he's a Republican. But he's trying to go along with the Bill Clinton system. He break down that system completely. So a leader helped to change the country. If the God wants to punish the country, send a bad leader, like Egypt, King Pharaoh, and many other countries, Hitler's in Germany. God wants to punish Liberia and the Liberian people, continue to send bad leaders. So this is the time that we as humans fulfill our commitment with God. God created a lot of things, but indeed have more trust in human beings than any other thing. This is why he created a lot of scholars, scientists, and many of them among the human society. But we fail to live with our commitment. We still see Liberia within the limitations of 16 tribes. With all the resources in Liberia, we don't have road in fact. Our number one road from Broad Street to Westwood Airport, Kipama, is not working. You look at the resources from Liberia from 1970 to 1980 and see the achievement of Liberia in that resources. Then people, when people are let me say when political parties are doing some rally, you see people demonstrating, clashing against one another, fighting for political power, fighting one another for candidate. They're not looking at those areas. These are the best areas that countries should be knowledgeable, come up with a group of people and try to position themselves and have their government accountability for what is happening in the country. Liberia people are ignorant of that. So, like he said today, that to dignify the elections in Liberia, you dignify the election 2003, Taylor is going to win. No security. People are ignorant. So the best position Liberian politicians and the Liberian key players can do for Liberia is to educate the Liberian people to boycott the elections whenever Taylor stays a president. That should be one of your vigorous campaigns in this country. Announce this all over, make the media, go everywhere. Liberia is suffering, there's an internal crisis in Liberia that more dangerous than the war itself, physical war. Because when men can go to work, money salary does not afford to feed himself and his family. That's a war by itself. It's a crisis. All Liberians facing this crisis. As a result, Liberians have become bakers. They have the richest land and blessed land. As a result, all Liberians have become prostitutes around West African states. So Liberians, dailies and hourlies are degrading, but Liberian politicians are not looking at that. Every day, the politicians of Liberia are multiplying candidates for presidency just because they want to corrupt huge money and settle somewhere. So I don't have trust in any Liberian politician. This is why we organize ourselves as civil rights. Because all along the Liberian history, nobody ever thought of civil rights in Liberia. And as we begin to prepare ourselves in America, we're going to put our life on the line for the peoples of Liberia. Because our children are involved. The futures of our children. Our parents have contributed economic growth and infrastructure development of that country. So that can't go in vain. No one person is going to sit down, explore the people, create virus around the country for all to sit down and look this thing going in vain. This is a birthplace of democracy that one can experience. I am very surprised that the former leaders of Liberia used to visit this country, have solid relations with this country, but there is nothing here, or nothing in Liberia resemble what we see here. So those can give a man a vision to fight of what is going on in Liberia. And I can tell every one of you, the experience and the intelligence of a human being can inspire. If we don't put actions into practice, 3, 4, 5 years from now, we will begin to talk, nobody will listen to us. But when we put something into actions, people will follow up. There are 3 groups of human beings. Some people like to see things happening before they follow it. Some people would like to take initiative, but there are very minimal people. Very small group would like to take initiative from the very beginning. Other people will observe it at the practical level, they become part of it. So as we have taken the initiative, you saw in this country, black man was captured, brought into this country forcibly. Where in the world a captured man would advocate for his rights when people could not put actions into practice? While Americans were selling its democracy, their action and their treatment were very deadly in America. People began to publicize into foreign newspapers, and they were ashamed of their own shadow. So they were forced to put discrimination into law. So we should expose the Liberian bad politicians. Now, Liberian people are not the problem. The leader, the past leader and the present leader, we should caution them. This is why we are here. We found out any leaders of Liberia, we're going to caution you. What you intend to do for Liberia? I don't want political position anymore in my life. As I'm sitting here, I have a very good business in Liberia, but it's not secure. I can't go to Liberia right now. What you intend to do for Liberian people, and what you're going to do for Liberia, we will take you by your word. When you go to Liberia, we'll give you 6 months. If you don't implement those decisions, that country is so old enough, there is nothing in Liberia. So old, there is nothing in Liberia. So far, what I want to recommend here, we should look at beyond the band of 16 tribes in Liberia. It's not war. We are not enough, we are not capable. This is why we destroy our country. We need more people to live in Liberia. So we should begin from there. Even with the Spanish, productive Spanish men, creative Spanish men, we can encourage him to go to Liberia. So we take from them, so thank you.
I would say no, because before and after the war, we had people, other ethnic groups who have suffered indignities. What I would suggest is a very sensitive leadership, who is sensitive to the plight of the people, like the idea of, when you talk about it, they say you're trying to, I'm an atheist or something like that. I'm aggravating over and over in Liberia. A leader who is sensitive to the other ethnic tribe, like you have devotion in public schools in Liberia. When you have, then they say Liberia was born a Christian promise or some Christian principle, Christian everything.
Founder and Christian principle.
Okay. When we go to school, we have to read Bible. Bible is part of the curriculum in high school or in elementary school. You see, so I've always asked you, why when you have so many types of different religions in Liberia? So I think we need a very sensitive leader who will listen to the plight of people that need up people, what they need and what they don't like, and just based on that and be a leader instead of you basing leadership on one religion. That's what I would say, because reparation is not the thing of we have so many tribes that are suffering indignity, but what we want diversity.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Farhan.
Civil rights movement, that they can chronicle those specific losses, and it can go back to those warlords that caused those losses, or they even know that those people stole from these people or destroy these poor businesses. It can be part of the future tribunal. You see, so if you do document that, they can be even part of future reparation. But like he said, so many other people lost. I lost $500,000 worth of equipment that I invested in for 10 years, from 80 to 90. Okay, I'm not even asking for reparation. I still want to do more to change the mindset of our people through education and culture. You see what I mean? But that's something that the civil rights movement is supposed to go in and research and do, so that at the proper time, you can have sufficient evidence to say this warlord destroyed our business, our trading business in in Nimba or in Basa or whatnot. And don't want to do it for Mandingos. Do it for everybody. Go there and do it, because we're not thinking about one ethnic group now. We're thinking about Liberia as a country. All of these other elements come under Liberia as an umbrella, you see. But I do understand the plight that Mandingo people have been discriminated and said negative things about. But that's your responsibility now as a leader of your group to do attentive research and have your proof, razor edge proof, so that the time comes when these warlords will be put to attention at the tribunal, and those who have got the money today from the sweat of our people, that money should not be go with them in the grave. We should get our money back, and those people who lost that thing, they can be, their reparation will come there. I think that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Farhan.
I'm going to change the direction of the leadership who will rather have these people at heart. But the question here is, talking about mindset. If you look at Liberia today, those who are running for the office of the presidency, you would say that some of these people have had an opportunity to work in the government, at the higher echelon of government. And some of them, if you were to look at their record, you would say that they didn't do anything. Here is the person who probably had an opportunity to run a ministry. They could not run a ministry, but yet and still they are convinced that they can run the affairs of the nation. Now, how do we change that person to say, look, go back and look at your record. If you could not possibly run a ministry effectively, what makes you think you can run the affairs of the nation? And therefore, we don't think you should step forward. How do we discourage people like those to begin to look at their records so that not to waste the time? Because talking about 21 persons from what Madam President Copy Reeves said today, that there are about 21 persons who are vying for the Liberian presidency. And I can tell you that those 21 persons, if you look at half or majority of them, are people who have worked in our very government. And so how do we discourage these people not to waste other people's time?
Who going to discourage them?
Well, that's what I'm saying, boy.
If a free and fair election was held in Liberia, and the voters were given the voter education that Marty spoke about this morning. And everybody, and we had these different options. You can do a true vote. If people were educated as far as the records of those people in their dealing with former administrations that they participated in, people can vote them out, but they have the right to participate as Liberians in the process. You can't discourage them from participating, but you can speak with your vote in the process. And I think that's the only one way of eliminating
So I wanted to be president of Liberia, and I'm part of the political party. I think my party have the right to tell me, say, man, because of your past or because of what you are, you're not qualified to be president. And we can find somebody else. But I mean, if we as a people say this particular person cannot run, who am I to say you cannot run? That's why you have that system where you put the person forward so the people can choose among who can be president of this country and who can be. But if you try to stifle that, the person's right to be president of that country, you are breaching on fundamental principles that you speak of.
No, well, I think what I made the view, because obviously if this person is to be elected, it is the people that will elect him. But maybe on campaign to say, well, look, just like what some of the participants of this town hall meeting have said, look, let's begin to show these people. Let the Liberian people look at them and say, well, here's the person, and just ask the fundamental question. If this man could not run a ministry, why make him think he can run the affairs of this country? And let people, kind of decide as to whether, because that would be really a process of elimination if people are, cognizant of what this person has done, as being, part of the leadership of Liberia.
Do we go with the states? Can we have that there too? You guys know what I'm talking about?
Well, I don't know. Again, it's all brainstorming because those are some of the, that's what convoluted the whole problem.
Have 40. So how do we...
And you don't have a problem.
Qualify these people because we're living in a democracy today. We should copy some elements of things that could apply. Instead of us thinking over it, we cannot reinvent the wheel.
Right.
The wheel has already been invented. And with the wisdom that we have here, we should be able to use that as a community to set certain parameters to work for the country of Liberia, just as probably in Cameroon, or in the Ivory Coast, or in Ghana. Ghana, for example, things are working there. Okay. So I think I will work out to in Liberia.
Mr. Bond.
I'm sure you all know it. But corruption, if we can set a high standard for officials, government officials, and that will probably discourage people from running for the same office, like becoming a minister of a certain agency, because the corruption is everywhere. And that's one thing that's bringing the country down. It has brought the country down for a long time.
I'm giving the most important thing is to empower the people. If people are empowered with the Constitution as their backing, with the laws as their backing, then they can make their own decision. Say, for example, if I'm to make a choice between an ineffective leader and a wicked leader, I will choose an ineffective leader because I'm going to put in the test. If he does not do what he's supposed to do, next time come around, I kick him out with my vote. But the question here is we have wicked leaders that do not even want to give you the chance to exercise your franchise. You see, it's with us. If we want Mr. Joe Blow, who couldn't run even a ministry, to be our president, it is our choice. We could make a bad choice, we could make a good choice. But let us do it with freedom. Let us do it without any force, without any duress. That we are electing Mr. No good man to be our president, even though we know he's not good, he can't do anything, he can't provide any good. But we're doing it out of our own, free will, and we'll try him.
Okay. Well, what we're going to do now...
Okay, a couple of things I want to comment on, because the critical points I don't want to lose too. Even though almost everything being said here will be documented for people to review later on through video
any writing. But I will go to my brother Stefano's proposal. It struck me because I'm looking for solution to get past 2000. What he said, I think we should think about it. I said earlier, it's like I had an idea and then he presented a solution about his full election in 2003. He said maybe we should campaign to our people to boycott the election with Taylor's participation. I think that's a compromise that could be sold if packaged properly. In other words, we discourage the brothers who want to raise arms and all the things. We say, look, let the guy finish it out, but he's not going to run. And that's the trade-off with the people, not I say or you say, but we get the people to ask for that as a compromise. And there may others will come, but I want us to note that because we're going to go back to our respective constituencies and groupings and stuff. So we're looking for solution, and I think that one I didn't want to pass because in fact it gave me a very good point. The other thing I want to talk about the issue of ethnicity in Liberia and the rules or whatever. You know, the Liberia I grew up in, maybe, I don't know, maybe I was on the other side of the track. I didn't grow up in Liberia that was ethnically divided. I'm a Dartmouth product, and living in Tolbert, and none of those practically. And so it's just inconceivable for me to think about Liberia and think about Haitians or Lomans in terms of they are here now. Okay, so to my brothers and sisters in the Igbo tribe that have been victimized, G.Q. Harris feels just as victimized as any Mandingo. Because that's the world I grew up in. One of my closest friends right now is as Mandingo as Tikan. His father was an imam. This guy and I from 1968 we met in elementary school. We have been together. Just to tell you why it's hard for me to understand this whole tribal thing like Liberia, and maybe somebody got to educate me into it. This man and I met in a school called Vassar Teenage. And it doesn't matter if you don't know Vassar Teenage. And David is okay. We met there, he came from his direction, I came, we just struck it off. And this guy must have got tight. Still together, then I went on to high school, he went to another school, but we still remained tight. Graduated. I came to America. He stayed there, he worked with the CID, whatever he did, and eventually he came to the States. Obviously we lost connection. Went my path, went his path. Some way, somehow I heard he was in New York. It happened, we met again, we had a little reunion. We started from there, but you know how America is. If you don't live next to each other, even see the apartment, forget it, no matter how close you are. I went away, I went through life. Then I decided to run for the presidency in 1997. And I made my brochure and some flyers. Some way, somehow, we were visiting with someone in New York, and he saw this flyer. It was a flyer, not a brochure. My picture wasn't on it. And then he read it and he saw it in G.Q. Harris. So he asked the person, will you take the flyer home? He went home. And I live in Los Angeles. And I come home this one day and there's this message on my mission saying, yeah, hello, my name is Lucini Salif, and I'm calling to find a T.Q. Harris. If T.Q. Harris at this number, please call me. If not, I'm sorry, this is my phone number. Well, once he said it, I knew who he was. I called him back, and within 2.5 weeks of that call, this man is a police officer in New York City right now. In 2.5 weeks of that call, he had left his job, he took time off his job, he went his bank account, he found his own money, etc., 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 and he was on the way to Liberia on my advanced team for my election. You see, that's the Liberia I grew in because I never saw Lucini as Mandingo man. And we name it, and I tell people the relationship between my father, who was a senator in Imba, and as the gentleman told, he just struck me.
Harris in Capita?
Yes, my father. You see, the man struck me because I was trying to figure out, I said, why all this Mandingo thing? And why my father exhibited so much respect for these Mandingo people as a little boy, looking at adults. Why I never saw him like, oh, the Mandingo man come. I saw equals. I was there. These people like my father. Equivalent, So when I hear people this fight, this bout, I'm still trying to understand how it came into the society because I saw those men especially, dealing as equals, whether they were from Bon County or Grand Duke. So as far as I'm concerned, the victimization of any Mandingo is for me because I know my father was here the last day. He would even tell me to take out and fight these people. He would not tolerate it. So that's what my brother said, we shouldn't look at reparation. It's true. We still look for leadership that will bring the awareness, education, that will be more than, I give you $5 because I burn your house down. You know, you can't replace everything in my house with $5. So that, again, like I said, I wish we all here will learn something from that because, you know, other ethnic groups have been victimized for one reason or another. A lot of times, it's because of opportunists. They don't have a message. They are not good leaders. They don't have a vision, but they want to lead. So what do? This is something I'm learning right now. They divide the people. They divide the people. They start telling you, oh, you know, my Kingo people, or we Gola people here, we got to protect ourselves, but the people, we Bassa people, we can't follow it. Because they do not have a message. If they have a message, they can come to any tribe in Liberia. We were all looking for leaders in salvation, redemption, and the people will take it. But they have no message. So they grab these people and they begin to make them feel the people out there are against you, and somebody's always going to follow somebody else. Okay? These are the kind of things we should guard against. What's the third point before you transition? I wanted to bring. But those two, if I can't think of the third one. Oh, the third one. You know, if nothing happens in this room today, for me, if nothing else happens from this moment on, the historical perspective Brother Konneh presented to us is, we talk about let's educate the people, educate the people, educate. Look, this is how the education done. You know, I didn't plan to come and hear this thing today. Even though most of what he said I knew, but he tied it in, he brought a perspective to it that it clarified a lot for me. He thinks I already knew, but I couldn't connect it, and I wouldn't go into specificity. But he said something, and I said, but then exactly this is what this is happening. I become enlightened, little more than I was when I walked in this room. This is the education, and this is what we should take out to our communities, to tell people about this, okay? And in the process, to also educate those who call themselves leaders. Because imagine this, what if you live in a world with all educated people, as you approach your friend who wants to run for the president, who wants to be the community leader, who wants to be the Bassa community, Bassa association leader, deal with him, share with his ideas, because if he gets it, he's going to pass it on to somebody, and all of a sudden it will start to permeate the society, and we'll move forward. So I just want to touch the point, especially the point he raised, because it gave me more hope for 2003 than anything I had when I walked in my election business. Thank you.
Okay. We're going to do, you know, you will finish the phrase. So what we're going to do now for the history, we're going to ask, and by the way, when the question is asked, if you know the answer, just simply put up your hand and you will be recognized, given an opportunity to give the answer. Okay, the first question here is, which Liberian president introduced open door policy? Yeah. Mr. Zia.
We got more pictures.
Congratulations. Okay, the next category is pronunciation. And I will spell the word, and then you listen. The word is V-E-R-O-N-I-C-A. V-E-R-O-N-I-C-A.
That's the American pronunciation.
That's the American pronunciation. Yes, sir. No. American pronunciation is Veronica, but in Liberia it's Veronica. Veronica. That's how we pronounce it in Liberia. Yeah, Veronica. Yeah, right. But I'm saying the distinction between the American pronunciation and the Liberian pronunciation. No, I said V.
V.
Okay, we're going to go to English composition. Okay. Mami pode? Yes, sir.
Pepe, not
Pepe. Okay, we're back to history. In 1980, that changed the face of Liberia. Yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay, and the last one would be two. I'm going to ask. Okay, English composition. Monkey work? Baboon drum. You got it, sir.
Don't think that one
that's good. Thank you. In going back to the discussion, we're going to let's look at education a little bit, because I think it is troubling if you were to look at the Liberia of 1960, 1970, 1980, and now. In comparison, you may have probably said that the Liberia of 1970
in terms of education, you would think that the people we have in Liberia today are more educated than the Liberians who ran the affairs of that country back in the 70s. But the question is, what went wrong? Now we have more educated people, but the progress of the country is going down. When we did not have as highly educated the people are today, no progress. What went wrong? How do you explain it? Anyone? Yes, sir.
It was more advanced, more educated than people of today. You had 3 degrees from high. People from 1970, or let me say from 1940 down to 1970, they have the credentials of those degrees. One is degree of experience. You can get it from school. You have to get it by interaction, by merging with people. That's the most important things in human life, human being have to engage into, to know people. The more you know people, the more developed you are, the more experience you are, the more ambitions you have, the more competition you have. The more isolation you're in, the more frustration, the more distress you have, and the more prejudice you create, the more hatred you create. People have degrees of experience. They interact with people regardless of their race, nationality. People had degrees of old age. People were ashamed of certain things that I had gray hair, it means something. So I can't participate in certain things. I can't sit down outside and drink liquor. I can't leave my wife and do this. Those are natural creations that God created human beings with. Those are creations. Those props are gone. The props are gone, the dignity is also gone. People just remain hanging with empty-headed brain, feel that they have degree in certain area. Degree under stress. You working full-time job, going to school in the night. You only study a test area to pass. You will not be vigilant in the subject. So people in the past, they were more relaxed if they have piece of cassava to eat, they are satisfied. Because it's why they play, it's why they grow for themselves in the habit of living. So if we have rice to eat in Liberia, if somebody don't send me American dollar, I'm not still happy. If my brother send me 50 cents today, tomorrow send me 25 cents, I begin to take his knee out. That guy getting money, not doing anything. So that's my suggestion to that.
Yes, sir, Mr.
Educated people, the people are more rational and they are likely to ask questions. Say for instance in Liberia during those days there was one party system and those guys used to say, so say one, so say all. And our people in the background, they say, lead the people think. But today it's not lead the people think. When we see anything wrong, like what is happening back home now, we question it because we know how it should be and it is not the way it should be. So we are questioning. So the problem today is educated people are concerned mostly about our environment, today, tomorrow, and the future. So for us to come to grip with a new reality is where we are having a problem now, because people back then, they used to doing it that way without any question. But now they have to face question is where they do not want to come to grip with.
It's because our leaders of today want to rule like if they were Turkmen back then. Turkmen time and today not the same. Turkmen time, leaders were not questioned. He could do anything, it would be as if to say God had done it. You see? So everywhere in Liberia, Turkmen were not challenged. Nobody could come out with any opposition to whatsoever he said. Yes, that was peace. You know, but today, we're in different setting. It's different time. So if a leader comes out today that wants to be like Turkmen in the 21st century, you're only going to create chaos in the society. Because leadership has to be innovative, it has to change along with the time. So we live in different time than Turkmen time.
Yes, sir, Mr. Kamara.
Education for a new change. Instead of even looking at the mindset of those in the past, because for new leadership, you got to look at progress. And only progress can only come by building institutions. and not just book education. Because book learning is not education itself. Like he said, experience from the old folks, all a part of that. But the blend of the experience and the innovative experience we have today, developing institutions that will last, that outlast book learning. That's the main thing, you see. Like, if even the people in power today would place more emphasis on education, building institutions for training, for schools, for all that, at least, I mean, that's part of the suffering of the country. People say, like, at least these people are doing something to take the country from one level to another level. But no institutions are being built. There's no trade center, there's nowhere to, take the people from one level to another level. So what I'm proposing is that the mindset of leadership, the new leadership, should be progressive education for progress.
Thank you. One opportunity to comment. Yes, Mr. Crawford.
Okay. Need to look at it from other dimensions. That little small country is a heavenly gift that is being abused. Believe me, I'm sorry for taking you back one step. If I didn't speak for past leaders, I would not be doing justice to myself and to my colleagues. The people that are corrupt, if you want to actually know who's corrupt in our system, we have a corrupt civil service. The minister that is coming in is not corrupt. He doesn't even know where corruption comes from. But you have a corrupt civil service. If you want to provide a future education for our system, that's the place you need to look at. And that's what makes it very difficult. Look at TQ Harris, J.J. Rao infinite doing anything and that you can't finish it. That comes from the civil service. It doesn't come from the minister. And all the corruption they're talking about is from the civil service. Now,
okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I didn't want to. Okay. You see, Liberia is among the richest nations in the world. Liberians are as poor as the paupers of New Guinea. You don't think we need to sit down and take a closer look at that? Is that all contributor or an attribute of our leaders or poor or progressive leaders? We need to take time out to actually examine that. What is responsible for that? Why is it we have a rich country and poor people? Well, is that the way it's supposed to be? All right. Are our leaders, both past and present, among world classified millionaires? Is that the case? We need to take a time and look at it. What is actually happening to us? Myself, I have the doubt. Probably that's a case study for some of us. Thank you.
Past leaders were not questioned. I remember, I think it was in 1968, President Tubman came to Manga for some kind of convention. I was the Boy Scout. We were kind of like keeping the crowd away. And one of the chiefs stood up to say something against his administration. And what he said was, I don't want to see that man. And they dragged that old man to the police station in Manga. Just took him and just threw him away. Just like, I don't want to hear what he's saying. So it's true that past leaders were no question.
Okay. That's a good observation. But another thing, though, twist it a little bit. So we are talking about looking at comparing the leaders of today to the leaders of back then. Again, well, could we say that maybe the reason why those are in leadership positions today, those in leadership positions today seems to have failed us? Could it be that because they are engulfed in insincerity, the fact that I know I'm not qualified or I'm not capable of doing certain things, but yet it's still a minister or what have you? Could it be that we are just so insincere that we can't be sincere to ourselves?
Corrupt system we had before. The only sincerity we can have for ourselves is to put a system in place that will give us a good checks and balance. But once we do not have it, we'll always go back to the same old mistakes. And that's why I keep saying, We need to check our constitution. We need to have the security that will keep that constitution in place to guide us through the rule of law. As long as we have that, we will not keep, going back into the old mistakes and not having what we want.
Any other comment?
For Liberia problems. And to some extent I differ with that. If you just take education in a narrow context, because we are proving that to not be the case, and we made it quite clear why Liberia seemed to function so well at a time when there were less people with so many high degrees than is functioning today. Agreeably, people did not question the authority as much as we do now. But questioning the authority is not the real problem. The problem is, one, when the majority of us, or the majority of Liberians, or any sizable number, it may not be the majority, I take that back, any sizable parameters and different dynamics or something, you're going to have a problem. You're going to have a problem. You can study one of the same field as he can in two different schools. When you meet, you will have to, you got some basics, but above and beyond that, you got a lot of differences. And that is hurting us, okay? One of the things we must try to address and try to get back home so we can try to find a common denominator in our different disciplines. Some people have studied politics in Germany, some people have studied law here at this school, and the list goes on. And we think it's great. Everybody want to have a foreign degree. You think nobody respects the degrees of the universities and colleges in Liberia. It's great. The problem is there's no synchronized, or put it with basic understanding. Okay. Now you bring these people together, and what you get pretty much what we're getting. So one thing about education, for the thing, yes, we first have to we have to educate our people in an understanding of themselves. You see, we know a lot about a lot of things, but very little about ourselves. We know a lot about a lot of things, but very little about ourselves. What this man just told today, I would venture to say most people in the room didn't know to that detail. They didn't know. And this is the thing we're supposed to know. Before you get out of high school, you were supposed to master this. Before, because you're going to start tackling world history and European history and medieval history. Before you get out, in a good education system. Because if you got that time, because mankind is the same the world over. If you understand how the chiefs are also and were operating, the kings of the kings. When you go read about the kings of Germany and this and that, you probably make better grades for understanding the lecture better. Than you come in there just green and raw without anything. So when we talk about education, the difference I see is we need a rounded education, not just math and science and this and that, because we know we're good at it right now. We've got a lot of brilliant computer engineers, librarians, and medical doctors, you name it, this and that. But yet and still, we can't come to a meeting like this. Part of the reason why this meeting is poorly attended today, I'll tell you right off the bat. Some people right in LA campaigned against this meeting. They said T.Q. Harris were coming to Atlanta, coming to run for president. And they had the heart to tell another friend, oh man, I'm going to that T.Q. Harris thing. Now, anybody, you here now, have you seen, are we anybody campaigning, or are we trying to show love? Okay? But all of those in here, they miss the history of this man told today because they listen to somebody who is very educated. The better person got a college degree, very likely, or some kind of degree. But telling people, oh, don't go to that thing with T.Q. Harris. And they deny a woman somewhere in the village of Liberia today for getting a relief to her problem. Because who knows what would have come out here if all of us had come here today. Yeah. They denied a baby that would die because of no food, the malnutrition, or some kind of little drug that you run to the drugstore and buy that mother and got it. We could have done something here today. Okay? But these are what we call educated people who, like you said, can ask the leaders questions. But what good are these questions when they are destructive? When you ask questions to TQ to prove he's an ignorant man, where he want to run, you don't ask him a question to bring out the best in him. You don't ask him a question to complement something. You ask a question to say, let me ask how come dispose of the man or watch it. Okay, so I want to ask you. That's an educated man talking. He's trying to bring his brother down. He's trying to recreate the crab in a barrel bucket. Because the thing is, people may say all kinds of things at TQ that don't even know him. But let me tell you something. Let's say tomorrow I declare I have no more interest or aspiration in politics or even dealing with a Liberian situation. Nobody's going to fill my vacuum. They're all going to sit by and say, that way.
Where's he? Oh, I heard Robert Guagua starting to be president. Oh, really? We're going there. And they were breaking down again. And they were not put his back. But we call ourselves educated. It goes back to what this man said. When we don't even know what gray hair means, there are certain things you can't do it. I see some of my people, I don't take on anybody here. We're a certain age. You see the way we go say we're partying with the young teenagers. We want to all do that. Education, you may know sciences, you may know economics and accounting, but there's education you're missing. Because there's a point, yeah, you're going to make the children happy, oh, but you leave. Because when I was a little boy, that's how the people left. They left to have fun. They don't bring themselves down to us that, oh, look, girl, you're looking good. You know, want to prove you're young. I mean, even if you got to do it, there's a dignified way of doing it. But people today, they want to show, oh, you're we in America. That's when education becomes detrimental. And I just put using it in that facet, but you can take it and plug it in other places where we have these formal training, but when it comes to understanding the rounded education where you graduate to different levels and how to behave, hence, I don't know what happened. And what they're doing to our country, it got us with all our education accomplishing much less than those people who didn't have capacity. So the long and short is, when we talk about educating Liberians to solve the problem, we shouldn't think about it so much in all of us must learn how to read and write. We must educate them in human values. We must educate them in religious education. That is stupidity about Muslim and Christian, all the nonsense Liberia. It's nonsense. I'm a Christian man. I watch in the mosque. When I went to Liberia campaign, I watched the mosque. Maybe the Pope prayed to pray for me in the mosque. Maybe that's why I survived. Because the guy had guns in that country. I didn't have guns. Maybe they prayed the Imam that day I went to the mosque. Maybe they prayed that saved me. I don't know. God can hear anybody's prayer. You know, you don't have to come from the Catholic Basilica. Maybe that's a prayer that saved me. And I was as comfortable there and respectful of religion as when I went to a regular church. Because, well, I'm an educated man. I'm more than an engineer. I'm more than a businessman. I studied business courses. I've learned about people. I learned about myself. I learned about culture. So this is no problem. And if I can learn it, as dumb as I am, we all can learn it. But we have to go out and make a conscious effort to teach those kind of things. And not just math and science.
Well, what we're going to do now, this has been a very fruitful discussion. What we're going to do now, from what we heard here today, people talk about education. Education has been hot today in our discussion. Not just ordinary education, but border education. But there are a lot of things that we discussed here today, and I think if we were to come together as people, we can really effectuate change in Liberia. So what I'm going to do now, is, again, I don't mean to put anyone on the spot, but you taking the time off your business schedule to be here today shows that you care. And so what I'm going to do now is to give everyone an opportunity. And please, just limit yourself to at least 2 minutes. And basically, what I'm doing here is, whether you like what the contemporaries United Patriotic Strong stand for, join them. Whether you like what any other organization, Liberian organization, is doing, join them. But the question is, what are you prepared to do? You came here today, you're going to leave. When you go back and someone asks you, well, you went to that conference, how was it? What are you prepared to do to bring about the change in Liberia? Now, you don't necessarily have to join this group, whether it be a Muslim group or any other group for that matter. What are you prepared to do to help bring about the change that we need in Liberia? And the floor is open to anyone. Like I said, please limit yourself, because we're getting to a closing time, limit yourself to at least 2 minutes. Yep.
Yeah, he was here running early.
Well, what I wish to do is what I said earlier. I've been looking around for Liberian organizations for a long time, but when I saw this one here on the internet, I said, wow, this is the best I've seen so far. And this is inclusive, of bringing everybody together. It had nothing on tribalism or nothing. So what I was saying earlier was to have sub-chapters in every state so that, we have members in all states. And the next time we have a meeting like this, I'm sure it will be packed and be a lot of people because they all know about it. So if there's a way to do that and have leaders in those states, I think that would help. And even to bring change in Liberia.
that we all have in common is that all of our countries, especially in West Africa, have the biggest problem, which is politics. We live in a country. We live in a country where we have a lot of resources. First of all, we have to start participating. Those of us who are citizens of this country, participate in voting, getting to know your legislator, especially from the state level. Take these problems to the state legislator, who would now take it to the state house, and they in turn will contact the legislator in the House of Congress. That way, they know what our specific problems are in our countries. If we do not participate in our system here, it will be very difficult for our problems to be taken care of back home, because there has to be a channel, there has to be a path, what I call a path, because we as a people, we are all interlinked. It doesn't matter whether we are from the south or from the west or from the east. And I say today that in spite of the fact that there are very few here, we have to start participating in our system of politics, because this is where politics takes on to a different level. And my name again is Amadou Martin. I work as the state legislator here as an aide to Representative Barbara Marbury. And some of the things that I know, if we as a people can always stop by and say, hey, we want to try to do this. There are resources that can be tapped. Money, I'm saying, to help systems like this move on, instead of us trying to do it by ourselves, because the system is already there.
Thank you, sir.
I think Dr. John, who was well, so that's why I come to meetings like
and I remember you.
Okay.
Thank you. You can still do it.
Yeah. Any other comments? Not asking anyone to join the contemporaries up. If you wanted to do that, you can do that. But we say in there, we all agree that there are problems in Liberia, and in order to solve those problems, we all must come together and work for the common good of our country. Whether you join the contempt up or you join another group, but do something. So we're asking people, what is it that you are prepared to do today? Whether to, make your contribution through this group or any other group out there, but we are all fighting for the same goal. What are you prepared to do? And a comment. Yeah, you on
particular committee. And this literature, I think